Linda Duncan, you have huge experience in things environmental, and you are also the party's lone Alberta MP. I'd like to get your impression of this resolution that's come out of the workshops and is going to the plenary on the Leap Manifesto.
Well, if there's one thing exciting, and I think that the people who are for the Leap Manifesto have done, is to get a lot of people saying it's time for us to spend a lot of time talking about our energy future. And of course, I've been pushing that myself in the caucus. I think that it proposes two things, which actually we already stand for. And one is equality. That includes the 99% and the people who are impacted by resource development, and in a big way, Aboriginal people. The second side is it's saying, okay, it's time for us to get on with joining the 21st century energy world, which most of the world has embraced, and under the Harper regime, we did not. So I think from that standpoint, it's great. There's nothing in it surprising because, frankly, our platform and our policy documents already say those things, except in different places. Essentially what they're saying is let's bring those two together. Let's bring together equality and our energy future. And so that's probably a good thing. The difference here is it's generally speaking, although I don't know who the people who have generated the Leap Manifesto, how many of them are actually members of the party, but a good number of them probably are. But generally, our policies come from the floor, and then they are worked on in the caucus. These were people from outside that came in, and so they've come to this convention asking, okay, as a party, buy into our manifesto. The decision that's been made that's going to come to the floor on Sunday morning, I think, is good. And essentially, I think that what they decide to do is we think there's great ideas in the Leap Manifesto about having a dialogue within the membership about what's our energy future and how does that connect to equality, and then out of that form of a much more robust policy. Rather than saying vote for all these specific provisions in the Leap Manifesto, to me that's good news.
Well, that's why my other question was that, in the sense that the way the Leap Manifesto now will be debated at the plenary session on Sunday is very circumscribed, and there are things in it I don't know. You say it's part of NDP policy, but there's not. NDP policy doesn't say we are going to become a zero carbon economy, does it? I mean, it goes very far in certain things. No new trade treaties to fuel energy export, zero carbon economy. I mean, there's statements that now will be debated. Has this resolution been formed basically to rein in the Leap Manifesto?
See, I think that Martin, you're giving a really good example because I think it depends on who reads Leap Manifesto with the reading. I'm hearing from a lot of people saying, oh, the Leap Manifesto says no more pipelines and shut down the oil industry immediately. When I read the document, I don't read it that way, okay? Are we a party that believes that we should be working towards a fossil-free society? We are. Heck, Canada signed on about 2 decades ago to remove the perverse incentives for fossil fuels. We signed on through the OECD countries, and so we've already committed to go in that direction. The Notley NDP government here has committed to go in that direction, and she's got a plan to be phasing out coal-fired power. I know that there's a lot of focus on oil sands right now in Alberta. I believe the coal-fired power plants are the biggest source of greenhouse gases in this province. So I'm seeing the document as a little bit too simplistic. I think a lot of it may come from Eastern Canada, and what we need is a dialogue about, yes, everybody wants to go in that direction, but what are the struggles for each one of our jurisdictions? Like, electricity is controlled publicly in everywhere except Alberta. Here we got a private system. We need to have a dialogue about what can we do to support the Notley government in going in that direction. And everybody should be at the table. Martin, this is the thing that has angered me most. And long before I was elected, I was working with a group of Albertans to have an energy strategy for Alberta and a Canadian clean energy strategy. And who is excluded from this so-called Canadian energy strategy that the premiers and the Prime Minister signed off on? The public of Canada. To me, the most important thing that needs to happen is open the doors to Canadians to play a role in deciding our energy future.
Could the Leap Manifesto be sold to voters in Alberta? And does the resolution allow it to be sold to voters in Alberta because it calls for it to be modified region by region?
It all depends in the end what we are saying. I don't think that anybody should be selling the Leap Manifesto because It's not our policy. I mean, the people who have written this are free to go and do whatever they like, and they're out there all the time. There's all kinds of organizations trying to push for cleaner energy strategy faster. You'll see me standing up in the House, I've done it for 8.5 years, saying more federal money for energy efficiency, more federal money for eco-energy retrofit. Let's retrofit federal buildings, right? There are many pieces to this, and there's a big role the federal government can play, but we've got to remember, the resources are controlled by the provinces. The royalties from the energy sector go to the provinces. So they need to be a partner in this. You can't do it singularly just by the federal government.
When this motion comes before the plenary session on Sunday, will you vote for it?
I will hope to have a chance to speak to it, although there'll probably be a big line, and often the members don't like us busybody members of Parliament. I'll wait and see what the final wording of it is. As it stands right now, I find no problem whatsoever in voting for it, because I'm simply seeing it as, yes, we need to have a discussion about equality in the country and about our energy future, and that we want a dialogue about that. Who could possibly vote against that?
Okay, Linda Duncan, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, Martin.